So I was going to start this video calling it a split diopter effect, but after looking into it, I'm pretty sure this is not exactly what a split diopter is made for. And so I've always tried to mimic that look by just taking the glasses off of my head, throwing them in front of the camera lens, and letting it just kind of obscure the footage that way. Sometimes you don't necessarily want to do that effect and bake it into the footage because you're not sure if the edit will necessarily call for that all the time. So this is a little workaround that I've come up with, so that way I can just shoot my clean footage by itself and then add this effect in later and get a pretty similar result if I do have other shots that I want to match it to. Well, here we go. All right, so we've got our footage here. We've got homie dancing, homegirl smiling, and homie pumping up the crowd. First thing you want to do is go to File, New, and add a new adjustment layer. Drag that over top, and we'll just stretch it out over that first clip. So I'm gonna go over here into my favorites folder, which is just a custom folder you can make inside of Premiere. It's really handy if you want to add all of your effects and things that you frequently use, that way you don't have to search them up every time. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag transform onto that adjustment layer, and you can tell it doesn't do anything right away, but what it is doing is affecting the footage that's underneath it. So if you wanted to adjust the position of the footage or the scale, you can do that, and it's all happening on an adjustment layer. That way you can affect multiple clips, things like that. So let's reset that, and let's just play around with it. Let's scale it up a little bit, play with our position. Cool. And then you can actually draw a mask on the transform effect. So we'll do that. And I'm just going to kind of add something that feels a little bit, I don't know, sharp and obscure and weird. Feather it out a bunch. And you can also adjust the position of your footage underneath it once you draw that mask. So you get that. Looks kind of cool. And then I'll just duplicate this, and honestly each clip you're just gonna have to play around and see what works the best for each shot. Most of the time if you draw that little triangle to the side, you'll get pretty close. So I've duplicated this adjustment layer. I'll delete the transform effect, and now I'm going to add a Gaussian blur over it. Ramp that blur up a lot, click repeat edges, and let's make a mask for that blur. Hit another triangle, but maybe try to hit it to where it feels a little bit off axis of where your diopter effect was. And then we feather it out. And you see right there, if you feather it, you've got this little sharp line right here, which shows you the shape of your mask. And then this is showing your border of your feather, obviously. If you push it beyond just the shape of the mask, it'll kind of soften up everything. If you look inside of that box, it'll kind of soften up everything that's happening in there and not really give you any hard line, which is something that I'm looking for. So now we've got that. It's kind of nice and soft. And then the final trick to this is just taking maybe an overlay shot. So I've just got this guy right here. Find a cool moment. Maybe like right after it gets a little too bright. Cut this, we'll just lay it on top. And then let's take that overlay, set it to screen. Come over here to your color. Because you set it to screen, you can just drop the shadows a little bit and it'll make it a little bit more transparent. And there it is. So now this is just the footage with the overlay on it, but if you were to add in, let's cut that and trim it. Duplicate your two adjustment layers. All right, so now here's a perfect example of how it doesn't work for every shot. So you can see right here that it's just zoomed in on her face, and that probably isn't the best look. So we're gonna go to the first adjustment layer that has our transform tool on it. And we can just play around with the position a little bit. Play with your mask, just on the eyes, drop it down a little bit more. Make it kind of strange. And then same thing with your blur layer if you want to. This is about to get really wonky, but this is kind of where the magic can happen sometimes. It's just taking your mask and creating some really strange looking points. And that kind of feathers it all together, makes it feel a little bit more organic rather than just having some hard lines. So there we go. So now it's split diopter on her. Feels all right. Honestly, I'd probably go through and tweak it a little bit more if I wasn't making a tutorial, but you kind of get the gist of what this is capable of. And let's drag this first one over onto our guy back here. And this one's actually working pretty well right out of the gate. Just play with the position a little bit. Feels kind of strange that it's just right there like that, so I'll just take this, jet him over. Heck, maybe we'll go up here, see just the arms. Cool. And so yeah, this effect is definitely not meant to replace any practical lens effects that you can buy and actually throw in front of your camera lens, but it is a nice workaround in case you want that effect but might be worried about baking that into your footage, or maybe you were shooting with two cameras and you had a lens filter in front of one of the cameras and the other one didn't. You need to match them. So I hope this helps. Thanks. Bye.